Now we're joined by Gillian Begbie from Kairos Prison Ministries. Good to see you, Gillian.
Thanks, Keith.
Look, Kairos is a long-serving ministry. Some of us know about it, but just briefly tell us what it's about.
Well, it's, as you said earlier, an international ministry. Currently in Australia, we have access to 20 correctional centres for adults, 3 juvenile detention institutions, and about 16 Kairos outside groups. And our aim is to bring the love and acceptance of Jesus to prisoners and their families, and I guess to help them have new hope in their lives.
So how do you go about that? I mean, what does it mean? I mean, that's a grand picture.
It is.
But what do you actually do?
Well, teams are brought together, teams of about 30 plus, so it's logistically quite a big thing. And those teams are trained extensively to both deliver a Kairos short course in Christianity in the jails, which is a 4-day course, or a Kairos torch program in juvenile detention centres, or a Kairos outside residential weekend for the friends and family members of anyone who's ever been in jail.
So is there a big take-up from prisoners that want to be part of it?
There is. If I'm a little bit cynical, probably it's a lovely 4 days away from normal prison life.
And why not? You know, you can understand that,
yes,
can't you?
But the chaplain handpicks the 18 or so participants, and they're not always the ones who are going to be cooperative or take up the ideas presented by Kairos teams, but they're the ones who the chaplain feels will benefit most and have an impact on the prison after the Kairos event, which is, as I said, a 4-day intensive program followed by ongoing support. And for the men and women on the outside, it's a residential program. It's harder to find people who will come out of their shame and self-isolation and declare that they have somebody in prison or have had in the past.
Gillian, I would imagine that it's probably as much a suffering experience for people outside as it is for people inside, isn't it?
I think in some ways even harder, Keith, because for them they are truly the innocent victims. Someone close to them relationally has committed a crime. They bear the consequences by going to jail and doing time. But we say those on the outside actually share the time, but are less understood in society, and often guilt by association makes it very difficult for them.
And there are aspects of the Christian faith, like forgiveness, that are so powerful, aren't they, in those settings?
Absolutely, both for prisoners and families. Forgiveness is a central part of a Kairos program. Understanding God's power to help the inmate forgive himself or herself for the crime and the impact on others, and for those on the outside to forgive the person who's absolutely turned their lives upside down. So yes, forgiveness, dealing with anger, dealing with the pain of what's happened emotionally and practically is something that Kairos teams help people to come to.
You talk about teams because I think that's very much a part of it, isn't it? It's not just 30 individuals, it's 30 that are acting as a team, aren't they? So that when you have this course, there's a watching, a looking, a sharing in the bigger group.
Absolutely. And I think that that team approach means that we bring together, you know, people with different personalities and backgrounds, and so all the participants, whether they're prisoners or their family members and friends, can often find somebody that they relate to well in such a big team.
What sort of person do you need would be suitable for this, and what sort of qualifications are necessary?
Well, we don't just you know, put our hands up and step into a jail. There's a lot involved before that, and one of the basic prerequisites for any Kairos team member is that they have themselves sorted out some of their own issues and faith issues by going to, say, an Emmaus or a Cassillo experience, and then, as I say, being well prepared, both to bond with the rest of the team, but also to have the skills necessary to either work in a jail or outside a prison with families and friends. So there is a lot involved. I think personality-wise, you've got to be unshockable. You've got to be totally non-judgmental and accepting, and have the agape love of Jesus as your motivating factor.
Before we close, I mean, what do you most get out of it yourself personally?
I think you've got to recognise it's a seed-sowing ministry. We don't always see huge growth or change, but there's always benefit to the participant, particularly in finding fresh hope and you know, I guess a capacity to move forward from their situation.
Gillian, thanks so much for giving us an insight into an important ministry that's going on all the time in Australia and around the world. I think it's wonderful that this is happening. It happens on behalf of the people of God, really, together. So thank you so much, Gillian, for sharing with us.